Island, and then Cuomo's big leads I thought were concentrated in Staten Island and up in the Bronx, which
And you know what was interesting?
made my hair stand on edge. Well, you know, there's a big Italian contingency.
That's true.
Which I don't think of us as being tribal, because I certainly don't necessarily fit in that crowd. But so, and I want to just correct that yesterday towards the end of our talk, I was, excited and moving on to something else, and I misspoke. And of course, Ken Frankel, who I think is originally from New York, correct me if I'm wrong, Ken. Yes, Ken is always right for the most part. Ken is, and I appreciate you, Ken. I misspoke about Zoran being a state assembly. I know, but obviously Zoran was a state assembly, is still a state assembly person, and for the 36th district. So I misspoke yesterday, and I wanted to call that out. And of course, also, I just wanted to correct one other thing, which is that his policy on rent was to try to freeze rents and build more affordable housing and go after more, I think, tax on the wealthy to make that happen. And there's a larger debate out there about how economically feasible any of these policies are, or how much, fighting and politicking and partnership building they'll need to get it over the line and into legislation. But if he does win, but he certainly has excited the youth base with, I think, these simple messages around affordability. I'm not going to weigh into his position on Israel or Gaza right now, but I just want to say that it was seen as, a stunning upset, but many people are trying to take lessons from it. I think one of the messages there now that maybe Dems are looking at is a sign of embracing that the party wants change, or that certain segments of the party want change and are embracing change. And perhaps that's going to be a line they're going to go with. But there was I can tell you, I got a million texts from a lot of young people who were very excited, and also from friends that I know many people ranked Lander first and Adrian Adams second. So it'd be interesting to see moving forward if he does win, and if people are concerned about his lack of extensive experience managing the city, what kind of strong team he could build by maybe having some of those same people that were running with him in some capacity. But I think so. Now we're looking at what a four-way general. If Cuomo said, he seems to have said he'll keep his options open. He said he's on the general election ballot. So I'm assuming he's going to run, but he said he'll keep his options.
He has his own party.
He's not going to run.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to. Yeah, go ahead.
He's not going to. He said what he said, but I mean, the fact that he conceded so quickly because he knows that he's not going to. The way that the numbers are going to break on the what do you call it, on the
between him and Adams?
I can't remember the terms. No, the way that the numbers run, because it's what's the system called again? It's
rank
choice, right? So the way the numbers are going to break on ranked choice, he already knew he was going to lose. Okay, that's why he conceded so quickly. Okay.
No, that I knew, but yeah, but you think he won't run again?
No, because if you can't win a Democratic primary, you get clocked like this, and you're a former governor and the son of a former governor, okay, you're just not going to win in November. And he's got the incumbent mayor running in November. You have a Republican who's well known, even though he's run before, okay, and he's not really a politician, which is Sliwa, okay. So no, I don't think he's going to make. I think if Adams wasn't in it, Cuomo would definitely make a run for it, okay? But because Adams is in it, I think Cuomo, he's going to do one or two things. He's either going to actually endorse Madami before the election, endorse the Democratic nominee, or he's going to stay neutral. But I don't believe he himself is going to actively run. Now, his name may remain on the ballot because I don't think they could take it off, So he'll be there, but but he's not going to actively run. We'd have to raise money, and I have to tell you, for a guy who was a two-term winner, this was a terrible result for him. Okay, yeah. Because a lot of it sometimes is based on turnout, and that means you didn't have favors you could pull, and unions, and political operatives, and your father was the governor.
But they did have a historic turnout, but it'll be good to see the breakdown of who turned out.
I've seen a detailed turnout, Andrea. So
you did?
Surprised.
Yeah. Oh, cool.
So I was surprised what you said about Manhattan, because actually Cuomo did well in Manhattan. He did particularly well, like on in the Upper East Side, particularly. He did relatively okay on the Upper West Side. And then in some of the areas like Greenwich Village, you got more clocked, as you might expect. But where Mandami really had the biggest margin was in Brooklyn. He had the biggest margins in Brooklyn. And that's because Brooklyn's changed a lot since I lived there, okay? So that doesn't necessarily surprise me. One of the things I noticed, because I know Brooklyn as well as I do, is when you look at, I told you how much Brooklyn's changed. My neighborhood, where I grew up, was Canarsie, was mostly a white neighborhood when I grew up. It's mostly African American now. Cuomo won that with like 60%. He won East Flatbush next door, which is the East Canarsie, with 60%. Now, most of those African Americans in Canarsie and East Flatbush are homeowners, so they tend to actually, think a little bit more centrist, and concerned about taxes, whatever. Okay. Right. But then you look at something like Bedford-Stuyvesant that used to be, when I lived there, again, 100%, almost like 100% African American, but it's been gentrified now, and you got a lot of like white young liberals there. Number one. And Mandami won there, and he probably, I'm guessing, I can't tell, probably even won among the African Americans who are still left there, because they tend to be more renters, okay, than homeowners. And so Mandami's, promising rent freezes and everything. And you mentioned the Italian
this is
population.
Congressman John Kitover. I'm in Ben Mendelsohn's Deep State Patriots. He's just posted my YouTube
Italian.
account. We're going to find out what he has to say.
But now it has a lot of Palestinians and a lot of Arabs. And the thing about the Italian vote, as you probably know, Andrea, in New York, okay, and this is true of even downstate New York in general, not just the city, Italian Americans
Congressman
tend to
elected the
split their
16th district in Illinois, John
between the
Kitover.
Democrats and
We are in the
Republicans.
Deep State
So
Patriots Clubhouse Farmhouse account with Ben Mendelsohn and his collection of Trump derangement syndrome Democrats. It's titled Live from the Brazilian Embassy, Geopolitics Without the MAGA, and he has pinned my YouTube link.
Because all of a sudden in November, all the Republicans get to vote. More Italians would be able to get to vote. But I don't think he's going to make a run for it. I think he's going to do one of those two things I said. He'll either endorse Mandami, or he'll just, not endorse anyone, be quiet. But
a lot of anti-Muslim sentiment on X this morning. Do you think that'll make a difference in the general?
I'm not sure.
What was the question, Francine?
Anti-Muslim
Okay, this is John Kitover,
on
Congressman-elect in the 16th district in Illinois. That's
New
Peoria,
York
Rockford,
City itself
Bloomington,
is much more
Normal,
Muslim
other areas of
than it
Illinois
used
in the
to be.
Central
And
Corridor.
quite
I am running
frankly,
for your congressman.
a lot of
I am in the
Jews
Ben Mendelsohn
have moved
Deep
out of
State
New York
Patriots
City.
Trump derangement
Okay, so the
syndrome
Jews that are
Democrat
left, the areas,
psychopath
the Jewish
house
areas where Cuomo
with Ben
won,
Mendelsohn.
okay, are basically like Borough Park, which is the super Orthodox Jews. Okay,
So somebody's playing copyright music.
They're not going to vote for Mandami. They'll vote for Eric Adams, by the way.
How is this phone playing copyrighted music out of all the phones? Holy shit, that's wild. My phone is
matter that much. And the whole Israel thing won't matter that much because there aren't enough Jews left. As much as everybody says how many Jews are left in, how many Jews are in New York, a lot of the areas that used to be Jewish are not Jewish anymore. Okay, they're other cultures and other races, and that's one of the reasons Mandami was able to win, because Mandami would never be able to win.
This is John Kitover,
New York
16th District in Illinois, Rockford, Peoria, Bloomington. I am in Ben Mendelsohn's Deep State Patriots. This is a collection of Democrat Trump derangement syndrome psychopaths, low IQ voters, and they have pinned my YouTube link because they hate me that much. I've been getting death threats that my house is going to be burned because I have been recording Clown House for many years now, and they've introduced a new feature called Anonymous that doesn't allow them to kick out accounts, so I'm able to live stream the rooms. And this is Ben Mendelsohn. He absolutely hates me. He called me an F-word loser yesterday. So we're going to see what they say because they pinned it. And eventually somebody's going to say this room is being live streamed.
This is
We
New
shared
York
by
City.
Ben.
This is not Arizona.
So we're going to see what they say. Once, I'm sure they're going to mention the link. Here we go.
A couple of things, how much, what lessons are actually taken away and applicable for Democrats across the country, and well, depending on what happens, I suppose in the general election in November. But still, I think it's also interesting.
Congressman-elect
This
John
was the
Kitover in the
AOC
16th
Bernie
District of
endorsement,
Illinois,
and
Rockford,
they've been
Peoria,
racking in
Bloomington.
the
I need your help. I need your support. Go to johnsforcongress.com. I am in Ben Mendelsohn's Deep State Patriots. This is a group of Trump derangement syndrome anti-Americans. They consider themselves part of the Trump resistance. It's ridiculous. And they've pinned my YouTube account to the top of the room. So they're hopefully going to mention it soon. And you're about to see the follow-up. Go to johnsforcongress.com.
Put something in the chat, so maybe
it's not as clear cut. And many Jews I know voted for Mamdani. And I think sometimes we read into this way too much. In that, I've been dissecting the map for the last 12 hours of the different areas, and it is fascinating to see how it breaks down, neighborhood to neighborhood. Mamdani was, more than anything else, a massive change candidate, and is very clear because the Islamophobia that you're talking about, Dr. Francine, happened for sure in the last few weeks. Like, if you were a voter, you got bombarded with here that was, certainly veiled Islamophobia, and sometimes outright. We saw the ads. And the bottom line is people are sick of the Democratic establishment. So when they see an endorsement like Bloomberg, they don't give a fuck. When they see an endorsement of Bill fucking Clinton, definitely don't give a fuck. When they see when they see all the money that is going towards defeating Zoran and not promoting somebody else's message, that backfires. All of the shit they were typically doing to try to sway it towards Cuomo, who was not liked anyway, didn't work. On top of that, well, if people were holding out and unsure about Cuomo, there was such a movement, anybody but Cuomo vote by all the candidates. I should not say all, but a lot of the candidates that were running on the ranked choice were against Cuomo and were even adamant, don't rank Cuomo here, and then doing the cross endorsements, which were very big. But the thing of it is, people who were not sure about where to put Cuomo or whatever, I think a lot of them did watch the debate. A lot of them did watch him campaign. He probably ran the worst, laziest campaign that I've ever seen anybody run for mayor of New York City. He rested on his laurels and his name recognition, thought he was going to coast. It was so arrogant and dismissive of New Yorkers. And when you watch the debate, he wasn't it. People were expecting somebody who was going to be, tough and in control like he was during the, COVID daily statements and all of that. He wasn't it. He was slow. He was not connected. He didn't have any sense of power. And then during the campaign, he wasn't even out there. He was barely out there doing the thing. If anything, he had all of his moneyed back people throwing negative ads out. And people are sick of this shit. People want change. And I personally was voting for Lander or Adrian Adams. Those were my two. But when I see all the enthusiasm of the young people and people really just sick of the establishment, this is a shot that should be heard around the country for not the policies, but the idea that we need transformational change. Doesn't mean that everybody's like, yeah, I want free shit. It's not about that. It's about wanting to upend the system and do something better for the working people. So that's what I saw.
And Austin says in the chat, not just the country, but the world. And I actually agree with him, but let's see what happens.
Andrea, can you, you and Scotty take over for about 5 minutes? I got some.
No,
you found it?
That's fine. No, but I wanted to
I'll be
give
right.
some of the. Well, it's okay. I wanted to give because I have the map pulled up.
Yes.
The New York Times interactive map by polling place and by neighborhood is really fascinating. And to your point, to Ken's point about the homeowners in Brooklyn, I mean, that's
link in.
Did you put the link in the chat for those of us in Arizona?
Oh yeah. I mean,
so I'll put it.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. Pin it in the chat, whichever. When you look at the neighborhood, or you look at just the boroughs overall. Okay. So Brooklyn went 49 to 32. Mamdani went 46 to 39. I don't know who would have thought Bronx would have been Cuomo country, but it starts to make sense when you see the map. 53 to 34 Cuomo over Mamdani for the Bronx. Staten Island was 46 to 37 for Cuomo. Manhattan was 39 to 34. And the neighborhoods in Manhattan that went for Cuomo were fairly predictable. I know this very well because this is my domain. The neighborhoods that are the wealthiest went for Cuomo. It is not a shock. And, a lot of them, and Brad Lander was, pretty up there. But Upper East Side went 45 to 29 for Cuomo. Upper West Side is a lot closer because they're a little more liberal. They went 34 to 30 with Brad Lander at a close third. And then the only other one of note is really like Tribeca, for example, which, is probably the most expensive. Everywhere else, from Harlem to Washington Heights to, Greenwich Village, Chelsea, all of that is, was all, Mamdani. Not by a huge amount, but, it was a significant win. And I find it very interesting. And then when you look at the Brooklyn side, it's very funny. The more gentrified parts of Brooklyn, because I think Ken talked about Bushwick. Bushwick.
No, I said Bed-Stuy. Bed-Stuy that got gentrified.
Well, right.
Bed-Stuy. He won Bed-Stuy.
Right. No. I'm making the point. Yes, Bed-Stuy got gentrified, but there's still a lot. It's still predominantly black neighborhood. But here's the thing: Bed-Stuy is a very, very politically active community. Very politically active. This could also contribute to why they went for Mamdani. When you look at Bushwick, it was 79 to 13% for Mamdani. That's probably the biggest gap in the city. On the flip side, for Cuomo, if you look at Borough Park, which is largely Hasidic Orthodox Jews, it went 80 to 11 for Cuomo, which I found very fascinating. But the less gentrified parts of Brooklyn, and yes, where there are more homeowners, but it's also not as wealthy, ended up going for Cuomo. Cuomo won a lot of the less wealthy vote in a lot of these boroughs, and that's probably similar to why he won the Bronx, meaning Cuomo. And the only...
Well, no, it's different. Look, the neighborhoods he won really strongly in Brooklyn, which I lived in, which I grew up in, which have changed dramatically, but I understand how they've changed. Nonetheless, they've changed demographically, but they're primarily people who own 1- and 2-family homes. And having run campaigns there, I've run many campaigns, okay? they vote on issues like property taxes. Okay, they vote on taxation. Okay, and so it's that is a reason why Cuomo will win Canarsie, and he did win Canarsie, and he won East Flatbush, and then he'll lose areas like Bushwick because Bushwick doesn't have as many homeowners. I mean, it's that simple.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm trying to relate it to the Bronx because the Bronx is also Cuomo.
Yeah, the Bronx surprised me. I mean, it's like I just really.
Yeah.
The only thing I would say is look at the vote. Look at the vote. I mean, I don't know if you have enough breakdown to see Riverside and Co-op City.
I do.
Where there's still probably significant amounts of Jews who are not as liberal as the Jews that you're thinking about in Manhattan. And even those Jews apparently, a lot of them voted for Cuomo if he did that well on the Upper East Side. So, I would think that may explain the Bronx more than some Italians on Arthur Avenue, but.
Right, I hear you. Co-op City obviously went for Cuomo. He also did campaign there because I remember seeing that. So yeah, I mean the map is very interesting, but essentially West and North Brooklyn is all Mamdani country all the way up to Western Queens. But then that complete eastern side is essentially Cuomo. So I find it very fascinating, this map, and then
Cuomo's off from Queens. He grew up in Corona.
Oh yeah. No, I understand. And it's not surprising that the ones closer to Long Island, Little Neck, Douglaston, all of that.
Oh yeah, that's money.
Much more.
That's money.
Much more. Yeah, exactly.
That's where Trump grew up, actually.
So
I think when you finish, I have a different question, but keep going.
No, go ahead.
I just want to say, I think maybe this is we could open up a room later and get some New Yorkers in and do a reaction room for folks who want to dive deeper into New York. I think we've made the broader points about, what change this portends possibly for the Democrats, and just check back with Scotty if there's any couple of points that you want to land on. Scotty, what do you think? And then move on to other topics for folks.
Oh yeah, that's fine. I mean, the thing I find interesting is obviously we're in New York City and we're kind of bombarded by all of this, but to see the conversation that is happening nationally on this is really interesting. But I think what Republicans on the right are already doing, and what they're going to continue to do, is talk about the socialist label, talk about everything is free, and not talk about why I feel and why so many people voted for him is that they wanted a change. If this was basically, I hate to say it, like an anti-Hakeem Jeffries vote in some way. This is an anti-Chuck Schumer vote. Right, I was going down the list. This is anti all of those people vote because they want something new. And this should be studied by the Democratic Party to see how the candidates in their specific region not necessarily adopt the policies, because it's not about the DSA, it's about how do we connect with people on an organic level to talk about the needs that they have in their community. That's how it can be.
And I just want to share, as we're wrapping this up, that my former colleague did get elected to DNC vice chair. So we could start a crowdsourced document for people who want to put forward their well thought out desire for change from the DNC, and any thoughts and suggestions, because maybe there's a chance for change with some of the new leadership in there.
Agreed. Can we go to Barbara though? Or were we...
Yeah, I'm super. So I am confused about what's happening in Iran, and I don't know if any of you have been, following it, the insanity of it. But what? So the last thing I heard, and I'm just doing a fact check right now, last night was that the bunkers, or whatever we call them, were hardly damaged. Does anybody have any line of sight on this? And the fact that Iran is declaring they're just going to rebuild it is only going to take a few months. So, question for you.
Yeah. What I know, and I haven't looked at it in the last couple of hours, so there might be more information, Basically, the assessment is that there was damage, at all three sites, but not enough to prevent them from recreating it. So, and apparently the nuclear matter, the atomic matter that they are most concerned about, was moved out of its location. So they think that they have the majority of that, and that's the problem, because they might not be able to make a nuclear bomb that they can send in a missile, but they can make like dirty bombs out of that, and they can make smaller weapons that are radioactive. So, but the bottom line is, it did damage, but not enough damage to prove it. It held them back anywhere from about 3 to 6 months longer than it was last time. And the thing is that, Trump is saying that everything's been completely demolished, which is absurd, because they have no way to know. I mean, that's one of the things, is that pretty much most of the things that I've heard, the different, was that they would not be able to tell the actual damage unless there were boots on the ground and they actually saw the damage, because it's down so far that there's not and there's so much debris that they can't. It's not like an X-ray machine that they can go down and see exactly what's in there. They know that there's damage, but as far as they know, they might have moved everything out of the way. They don't know. So if anybody says they know for sure, they're lying. And the what do you call it? The head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff said that. He said that we think the damage was done, but we will not know for a while because of the difficulties. So the thing is that everybody is saying that they won. Trump won, and Iran won, and Israel won. Nothing's really. Well, the thing is, the thing that changed is they've been threatening to do this for how many years, and they actually did do it. So that is a fact that it changes the situation. But does that mean that Iran's going to have a bomb any sooner than, or any later than it would have otherwise? Probably not. I mean, the situation is pretty much the same. And Trump is just going, he's just shooting his mouth off, like an idiot. I don't know. Does anybody else heard anything other than that?
No, but I feel like at least the Iranians know that Trump is crazy.
Yeah.
And he would bomb.
Yeah.
And that would hold them back.
Exactly. I think that is something that changed to the benefit of I don't know of who. Look, it's the whole thing shouldn't have been done. This should have been done through diplomacy. This should have been done with the original Iran nuclear deal that Obama did. I mean, we wouldn't be in this situation if he wouldn't have ripped it up. But it is what it is now, and as long as he doesn't do anything more, I think we're in really not that much of a different situation than we were 2 weeks ago. Other than he knows that Trump's crazy and he might do something, which again, I mean, gives an advantage to Trump for right now.
The other thing that we don't know now is who's really running Iran. I had heard somewhere that the supreme leader left before the whole thing began.
Well, he went undercover. He sort of disappeared, but he's around somewhere. I'm pretty sure he's still pulling the strings, because we would hear otherwise.
Oh yeah, because you're in the diplomatic community.
I don't know. They don't exactly call us on the red phone and say, "Hey, you guys need to know this." But yeah.
Wait, Brazil has a red phone?
Oh yeah. Ellen carries it around wherever she goes. That's her little red phone.
I thought that would be the nuclear soccer ball.
That's true. It's not. It's an American football. It's not a soccer ball. At least I saw that in the movies. Anyway, you know what? We've been watching. I had never seen Designated Survivor. I don't know if anybody else has seen it on the stage. It was this show. It was around 2019 with Kiefer Sutherland as the unexpected president because they bombed the Congress during the State of the Union address. So I think you know this thing, and it ran for like 3 seasons, and I had never seen it. And I have to say, if you haven't seen it, you should watch it because there are so many things in that first season that are totally relevant to what's going on now. Where if you would have seen it, you would have seen it originally, you would have said, "Oh shit, none of this could possibly happen."
You're seeking out
and now you're looking at it and you're going, "Oh, holy shit, all of this stuff is happening." It's like crazy. I don't know. I just thought I'd mention it. I think it's on Netflix if you want to see it. Anyway, anybody else have some thoughts about either Iran or even the New York election? Susie?
Susie. Susie Q.
Okay, Susie Q. Okay, go for it.
Okay, and thank you for accommodating to my native Danish pronunciation of it. But Denmark is such a small country. We are very easygoing with our names, how they're pronounced, so no problem. Yes, I actually have a comment because I saw an article in Financial Times, and I think this is a direct result of Trump's actions in Iran as the sort of cherry on the cake. So he has actually sent so I'm just going to read out here from Financial Times. NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte has praised Donald Trump for making Europe pay in a big way in increased defense spending in a private message that the US president shared on his social media platform.
Yeah.
So the keys here are the NATO Secretary sends a private message where he praised Donald Trump for making Europe pay in a big way with the big in capital letters. Donald, you have driven us through a really, really important moment for America and Europe and the world. Rutte wrote ahead of the NATO summit that begins on Tuesday, so this is a couple of days ago, referring to the US president's demand that all allies come to raise the defense spending to 5%. You will achieve something no capital letters American president in decades could get done, he added, and so forth. It was not easy, but we got them all signed into 5%, Rutte wrote. Europe is going to pay in a big way, as they should, and it will be your win.
Wow.
End of quote.
Wow.
So, I don't know about you guys, but maybe somebody's taking lessons from Putin or North Korea or something, that the way to get your way is to send private messages that you can then post in public and tell that you're the greatest, the best, the biggest ever.
You hit the nail on the head, Susie. It is so disturbing and bizarre how people are playing into his game. I mean, it's such a childish game. We have to praise him and we have to say nice things about him.
Yes.
And they're all buying into it. And it's like,
well, I think we could sort of debate what buying into it means. Maybe it could be, I will play it your way as long as I get it my way. Could also be a different way of sort of accepting it.
The fact of the matter is, he's a sick man. He's mentally ill, and this actually does work for him. I mean, anybody who has any self-respect would understand that somebody who is overly praising him wants something in exchange. But he's not built that way. He doesn't understand. He has no capacity to understand that. He will absorb whatever praise you give him. He is insatiable, and it's idiotic. And the fact of the matter is,
It's narcissistic.
Yeah, no, he's a very mentally ill man. He can be manipulated by praising him. So to a normal person, it sounds like you're overpraising him and you sound silly. But the fact of the matter is that when you do that, he will change his behavior. And the opposite is also true. If you say anything nearly against him, he'll just lash out 100% at you. So he's like an exposed nerve ending, and there's nothing above the brainstem here. There is no strategy.
Oh, Ben.
You kiss his ass, and he will react to kissing his ass. That's it.
Then I'm just foreseeing some trouble for Ukraine because they actually put him up, recommended him for a Nobel Prize.
I know.
And they pulled
That's
it
what
back.
He wants.
They pulled it back.
Did they pull it back?
They just pulled it back.
Oh, okay, so you mean some people nominated him and then they took the nominations off?
Yeah, the people from Ukraine that nominated him have recalled the nomination, saying
that
well, there's no peace.
Well, the problem is that some of his buddies at some point or another, just for this same reason, to kiss his ass, to make him do something, will say that. And if enough of them do it, it may happen, which would be horrible. It would be a really terrible thing. I don't know. I just wanted a quick mention. I don't want to give him that much room, but I did pin the asshole's name up on the top. So this is the guy, John Kitover, and I know our friend Max has said that we are being streamed right now, and he streams other stuff too. He streams Patty's room, and he streams Lisa's room, and Jeff S. If you know Jeff's room. And what we're gonna start organizing to get him kicked off social media. So if you go to his YouTube site, all of us, I'm gonna see if I can get Lisa. We're all doing it. We're all taking our houses, and we're asking everybody to complain, both at YouTube, Instagram, and here. He goes by Adrian Dittman is his fake name, but he has other fake names as well. But we'll get him. We'll dox him. We'll get him, and we'll get him kicked out. He is a horrible person, though. You should know that he's completely fake. He's not a congressman. He's a loser. He's one of these guys who sits in his basement, who's an incel. He has nothing better to do. He's a really horrible, awful maggot person, and he can go suck air, whatever. So. Anyway, let's forget about it and move on. Okay. I know. He's not a congressman, and he's not anything. And he has he claims to be a veteran. He's not a veteran. He has pictures of himself in military outfits, which aren't even real military outfits. They're fake. He's a total fake. He's a total loser.
Wow.
Okay. I don't even want to talk about it. He's a scumbag. All right, so let's get back into this. Who haven't we heard from? We haven't heard from Steve or Denise. Steve, did you have anything either about what's going on or any? Oh, there's been tons of legal stuff going on, or anything you want to talk about?
I still haven't had time to catch up with the raft of Supreme Court cases, frankly. I watched Trump's. I'm sorry, I just came into the room, so forgive me if this has all been talked about.
Yeah, that's okay.
Trump's press conference just now, have we already talked about this bizarreness of this? God, it was just insane.
No, we have not.
Yeah, so he just did his press conference, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes ago at the NATO meeting. And I mean, man, it was just insane. He headed off a nuclear war between India and Pakistan. They were on the verge of nuclear annihilation before he came in and stepped in. So you'll be relieved to know that if he doesn't deserve the Nobel Peace Prize for Ukraine, Russia, he certainly deserves it for India, Pakistan, because the nukes were about to fly until he stepped in, thank God. The stuff about the bombing of the nuclear facilities in Iran, I think it's fairly apparent now. I'm sure more information will come out, but it seems fairly apparent what's going on. But he just won't back down. Everything's been obliterated. Then Hegseth stepped up and said, anybody who questions any of it is just disrespecting the troops. And he went on and on about the brave pilots and the refillers and the 36 hours. And, you know, if you're questioning anything that the Trump regime says, then, you know, you're a traitor. I mean, it's just the level to which it really has, in my view, become Orwellian. I mean, I remember that very famous, oh God, I blanked on her name. Oh God. Alternate Facts. Who's Miss Alternate Facts?
Oh, Kellyanne Conway.
Kellyanne Conway. The evolution from fake news, they're just lying, don't believe them, to, you know, just a completely alternative reality that they will not back down from is incredible. I mean, total obliteration. I mean, it seems fairly obvious what happened. They bombed these sites, and the main underground site, I think what the reporting is saying is, yeah, there was a lot of destruction at the surface and maybe at some level below the surface, but the actual subterranean facility was not seriously damaged. And whatever nuclear material was at, I think primarily the Isfahan site, had been evacuated. But they just won't back down. I mean, they just lie and lie and lie. It's remarkable. And I guess